mentre loro arrivano io diamo le cuffiette, do la parola ad Alessandro Boschi, responsabile di Noon at Night, di raccontare l'evento di stasera e poi modereremo insieme la conferenza stampa.
Uguale.
Traduco la battuta che non è, io stavo spiegando la traduzione, dice beh qualcuno ci dice le risposte, ha detto Riprese nella cuffia. Allora, Alessandro.
Allora questa sera andranno in onda secondo me qualcosa di storico, perché credo che le serie dell'uomo da 6 milioni di dollari e da donna bionica siano qualcosa di veramente unico. Anche perché sono un po' la dimostrazione di quanto un telefilm, una serie funzioni non tanto per gli effetti speciali, che curiosamente in questa in questa serie sono anche alla base del racconto, tant'è che sono tratti da un romanzo che si intitolava Cyborg, ma perché all'epoca, ovviamente negli anni 70, effetti speciali come sarebbero possibili adesso non c'erano. Però il fascino che emanavano queste due serie era fortissimo, tant'è che chiunque di noi se li ricorda, ed è l'uomo bionico è diventato un po' un modo di dire. Questa sera andranno in onda i piloti originali di entrambe le serie. Voi sapete che la donna bionica è uno spin-off dell'uomo da 6 milioni di dollari. Questa sera voi vedrete come nasce tutto, come nasce l'uomo bionico, l'uomo da 6 milioni di dollari, e come nasce la donna bionica. La leggenda, non so se sia vero, io poi prima di lasciare la parola ai giornalisti, narra che in realtà il signor Lee Major ebbe realmente un incidente che per certi aspetti poi doveva ricalcare quello che sarebbe stata la finzione del telefilm. Temo che adesso non abbia le cuffie, quindi magari poi gliela ripetiamo questa cosa. Comunque, ecco, credo che sia veramente andato così. C'è una cosa importante per tutti gli appassionati: il prossimo autunno la Universal farà uscire le prime 3 stagioni in DVD ed è un evento unico, la prima volta che questo succede in Italia. Sono qualcosa di veramente prezioso che ovviamente tutti i collezionisti e gli appassionati non potranno che possedere. A questo punto io, dopo aver salutato il signor Lee Major e l'uomo da 6 milioni di dollari e Lindsay Wagner, lascio la parola ai giornalisti se vogliono iniziare con le domande.
Se ci sono domande prenotatevi da me,
ecco,
se ci sono domande anche per Alessandro Boschi. Io mi permetto però di dire anche, di notare, avendo una certa esperienza del DVD, che la cosa bellissima sarà vedere finalmente queste serie in lingua originale. Allora, abbiamo domande? Alzate la mano per favore. Ecco, prego, allora incominciamo da lì, da Sabrina e poi John Miller. Prego.
No, se no può fare.
Non litigate il microfono, abbiamo 2 tanti. Prego.
Salve, Sabrina Lugetti, proiezioni mentali. Allora volevo chiedere a Lindsay Wagner se aveva visto la nuova serie della donna bionica, e visto che è stata cancellata la prima stagione, volevo chiederle che cosa aveva lei che la nuova donna bionica non ha.
A sense of humor. But I do want to say that the actress could only do what they gave her to do. And I think she did a good job of what they were doing. I just think the concept that they tried to change it so dramatically that they lost what was special about it.
Prego. John Miller.
Good afternoon, Mr. Majors and Miss Wagner. I wondered if you could both tackle, the very obvious question of at what point did you guys realize that you had become 20th century icons, and indeed are now 21st century icons, because this show, or these shows rather, became part of your lives almost flawlessly when you were both so identified with these wonderful fantasy characters. So, I mean, it was inevitable you did become icons and are still icons to this day.
Well, for me, I think it was probably 30 years later. Mainly because when you're doing a series and you're working so hard, so many days out of the year, and I'm getting a real feedback in my earphones. Everybody else getting the same thing?
Maybe it's better if you take it off when you answer.
Then I can't hear you. Anyway, 30 years ago, you know, and where we did the show, and when you're working very hard, you don't realize that you don't get out in public very much. You don't have much public life, and so possibly.
C'è qualcosa che va nel microfono.
Possibly in the last 10 years, I've traveled around the world and realized that people would come up to you and know you, and it was very nice. So you get your rewards much later in life when it's probably too late. But going back to her question that she had to answer on the Bionic Woman, when I first saw it, I made a point of seeing the first 2 shows and didn't get any better. And no one could have done it better than Lindsay because she had such warmth and appeal, and you know, just a hometown girl kind of feel that made it her personality so great, and the actress of Jamie Summers come to life. So Bionic Woman now was too hard, too dark, tried to put too much action, and it just didn't work.
Well, you want to elaborate on becoming an icon? No, we're trying to find a solution because a technological solution. It's,
Not the UN.
yes, but we are trying. So
for me, it was a little different. I think it came earlier for me because it was the 70s and the women's movement. The Bionic Woman was a huge part of that. And so the feedback specifically about the uniqueness and the potency that both of these characters had on our culture, and then eventually the global culture, was more obvious, I think, for the woman because it was groundbreaking. So that feedback was constantly coming in. You know, a woman completely in a man's genre. And I think for me personally, when I realized it, in America, the name Lindsay was just unheard of. I had a very unusual name, and I understand it's Scottish and English, and we don't have that name in America. And so whenever I heard the word Lindsay, I would turn, and they were always talking to me. That's how it was growing up. When I went to a grocery store and I heard somebody say, Lindsay, Lindsay, and I'd turn around and I'd go, why are they talking to me like that? And it's actually, they're talking to a little child that they'd named Lindsay. It was like, oh, excuse me. You know, I realized people were being named Lindsay because the Bionic Woman was so popular that they were actually using my name. And that, I think, is when it went in. It's like, my gosh, this is huge. That I think, was my first awakening to that, as well as people writing in. But like Lee said, the magnitude of it was also flowing to me when those kids became the next generation's adults, when they reached in their 20s. And 30s, the women who were now working at NASA as scientists and writing me letters saying, you know, my parents wanted me to go to beauty school or nursing school because that's all women really were typically thought of to do if they were going to have a career. And I wanted a career, but I didn't, you know, that's all wonderful, but I wanted to be a scientist. And I defied my parents, well, forgive me parents, but I defied my parents because I had you to hold on to as some faith and some kind of support, that image that I could do something beyond what we had been allowed or thought of as doing as women before. So when those kids got to be that age, that became also huge feedback coming into me. And that was very meaningful also. Actually, I want to say one more thing.
Yes, please, yes, of course.
One more thing about that. One more thing about that is that when that group of people became in their 40s, what happened was men started giving me feedback that surprised me, and that's only happened in the last few years, last 5 years or so, that same group of kids, men started giving me feedback, and I said, that's interesting, I don't know why all of a sudden I'm having feedback from men, where it hadn't happened before. And this one man said to me, it's because until we got to be 40, we didn't have the courage to say that we liked your show also. And now we feel like we're old enough and we can say whatever we want. And that some people, men were saying, that your show gave us permission to feel like we could be strong and sensitive as a person.
Silvia Garamboa, credo.